Alright, so the National Weather Service Co-op Observer Program is the nation's weather and climate observing network. More than 8,700 volunteers take observations daily on farms and urban and suburban areas, national parks, all over our 4-state area and across the whole country. The data is truly representative of where people live, work, and play. The CoOp program was formally created in 1890 under the Organic Act. Its mission is twofold: to provide observational meteorological data, usually consisting of daily high and low temperatures, snowfall, 24-hour precipitation totals, evaporation data, river data, required to define the climate of the United States. It's also to help measure long-term climate changes, providing observational meteorological data in near real time to support forecast, warning, and other public service programs the Weather Service provides. Our CoOp observational data supports the National Weather Service Climate Program and its field operations. The program responsibilities of myself and Lisa here in the office are: we select the data sites, we recruit, appoint, and train observers, we install and maintain equipment all across the area, we collect data and deliver it to users on a daily basis, and also on a monthly basis and a yearly basis. We maintain data quality control. It's an ongoing effort at all times here. We also manage the fiscal and human resources required to accomplish this program. Observers generally record their precip and temperature daily. They do this electronically by sending in reports daily to the Weather Service and the National Centers for Environmental Information, or NCEI. Many CoOp observers provide additional hydrological and meteorological data such as river or lake levels, evaporation, and soil temperatures. Data is generally transmitted each day using a website called WeatherCoder. This website is maintained by the Western Region Climate Center, and it's funded by a combination of Weather Service, Regional Climate Centers, and the NCEI. Equipment used at the National Weather Service Co-op stations are generally owned by the Weather Service. However, sometimes the observer, either a company or a government agency, owns it as long as it meets the Weather Service's equipment standards. There's only certain kinds of equipment that we can use that's approved. The first network of co-op stations was set up as a result of the Organic Act by Congress in 1890, and it also established the Weather Bureau. But many co-op stations began operating long before that time. John Campania's home had weather records taken without the benefit of instruments from 1644 to 45, and he was among the earliest known people to observe in the United States. Subsequently, many people, including George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, maintained their own weather records. Thomas Jefferson maintained an almost unbroken record of weather observations between 1776 and 1816, and George Washington took his last observation just a few days before he passed away. What kind of person makes a good observer for the co-op program? What we're looking for in a person that's going to do this, or a family that's going to do this, or a place, is that they need to love weather. They need to be detail-oriented and dedicated. They need to be a volunteer-oriented sense of community-type business or place or people. What does the Weather Service need in a co-op site? That's a broad and ongoing question, but one of the biggest things is that the Weather Service or NCI needs to have a data need for the area. There needs to be a need, be it by a partner or some other agency, to get data for a certain thing for that area. We also need to have good exposure for any equipment that's going to be deployed in that area. We have to find a willing and able observer that can report daily 365 days a year. And usually they've got to have some kind of a backup if they're going to do it. We need access to the internet for that person to report daily via weathercoder, and that can be on a computer or even by phone. We need to find a person that's willing to volunteer and guarantee the access to their equipment. This is not a paid thing. We can't pay anyone to do it. It's purely a volunteer basis. Typically, we look for certain kinds of places and people when we go to look for a CoOp observer. We're looking for people that are already CoCoRaHS observers. We're looking for fire departments, water treatment plants, prisons, ag research stations, farmers, state, federal parks. Places that are open 24/7, 365 days are a good fit. And then another important thing for what we need in a CoOp site is generally we need to continue a continuous record. So when a site closes for whatever reason, we need to try to reopen a site within 5 miles or 100 feet of elevation of the original site. And that site also needs to be climatologically compatible. So right now we're actually looking for several CoOp sites to put back into operation. In Louisiana, we're trying to find an observer in Minden, in Jonesboro, and in Farmerville. In Texas, we're trying to find an additional, a new observer in Henderson, Pittsburgh, and DeKalb. And in Oklahoma, we're looking for someone in Valiant. And all of these places that I just spoke about have long periods of record. They've been there sometimes since the late 1800s. So it's really important that we get those back in the ground. So what equipment do we have, and what do we actually use when we field this? Well, we don't always put the same equipment in every site. It's driven by a variety of factors. But what we do have are we have an 8-inch standard rain gauge or a 4-inch rain gauge, which is measured daily by hand. It's a manual gauge. We also have a Fisher-Porter automated rain gauge, which is automated. It just runs all by itself on solar panel, and we download that data and send it back monthly. We also have snowboards with snow sticks. And I know a lot of people around here go, well, wait a minute, we don't get a lot of snow. Well, that's another reason why a snowboard and a snow stick is very important, because what little bit of snow we do get is very important for us to track. We also have a max-min temperature system, which is electronic. We no longer use the old thermometers with the mercury in them. We've basically phased all those out. The max-min temperature system, unfortunately, is a cabled system, so we have to be careful where we put it, and it is sometimes difficult to install. We also have several Palmer soil thermometers which are in the field. Those are very important for agriculture, particularly for when farmers are going to plant their crops, because they need to know what the temperature of the soil is. Unfortunately, because the Palmers have mercury in them, we no longer are able to order them and put and install them. We do have a few that are still in the field. We are currently searching for a new type of thermometer to do soil with. Hopefully we'll have something new in the next couple of years. We also have evaporation pans. We have totalizing anemometers, which go with the evaporation pan, and that tells us the miles of wind across the evaporation pan, which helps us figure out how much evaporation and why there was so much evaporation. And then we also have a water temperature gauge that goes in the evaporation pan. One other set of equipment that we have that not a lot of people realize is that we actually do have river gauges and lake gauges that are associated with CoOp. We have staff gauges and wire weight gauges that we maintain and check, in addition to all the automated gauges that we have that we use through USGS. Those are not maintained by us, those are maintained by USGS. So these are some pictures of some of the equipment. In the upper left hand corner you'll see our CoOp equipment, which is that standard rain gauge. Those have been around since the dawn of time. Most people are familiar with. And then we have our new snow sticks in the upper right hand corner. The temperature system are the bottom two. The temperature system is a good system. It tells you the current temperature all the time. It tells you your high and low in a 24-hour period, and those are reset each day at your ob time. And then we have a quick shot of our evap equipment there in the upper left hand corner. And then we have some river gauge equipment. That's a wire weight gauge. Very, very nice piece of equipment. And then we have a staff gauge in the bottom left hand corner. Rudimentary but very effective, and we have a lot of those scattered throughout the area in our 4-state area. And then the bottom right hand corner is a new, there are two types of this automated rain gauge. There's the FPRD and FPRE. They're just made by a different manufacturer, each one. We actually have E's in our area, and that's a picture of a Fisher Porter E. So not everybody can be a CoOp observer. We generally have one per county or parish, sometimes two, but generally one. And those needs are driven by a grid system that we have. And generally they've been there already a long time. It's very unusual for us to open a new one that's never been there before. We try to maintain period of record. So it does help us to have rainfall all over the area. And although we can't fund all of those, there is a way for people to volunteer, and that's through a system called CoOp. It's a fantastic organization, and we actually pull in all of their data. CoOp is an acronym for the Community Collaborative Rain, Hail, and Snow Network. CoOp is a non-profit, community-based network of volunteers of all ages and backgrounds working together, measuring and mapping precipitation, rain, hail, and snow by using low-cost measurement tools, stressing training and education, and utilizing an interactive website. The aim of CoOp is to provide the highest quality data for natural resource education and research applications. And they are now across all 50 states, and I believe they're actually moving into Canada. The network originated with the Colorado Climate Center in Colorado State University in 1998 after a horrible flood in Fort Collins the year prior. In the years since, CoOp has included thousands of volunteers in the Northern Hemisphere. So if you're going to be a CoOp volunteer, like, what do you do every day? Well, basically you purchase your own 4-inch rain gauge, and you mount it. There's a really good couple videos on CoOp's site to tell you how to site things out, and you basically measure the forms of precipitation that you want to record daily. You pick the time and you record it every day, and the data is displayed and organized for many of our end users to analyze and apply to daily situations ranging from water resource analysis to severe storm warnings to neighbors comparing how much rain fell in their own backyard. When you go and look at that map, you can see people all around you and how much they've recorded for the day. And again, all of this information comes into us every single day, and we import that data and we use it in some of our models. How do you get a gauge? CoOp has an online store with 2 separate vendors for the 4-inch rain gauge, and you can pick a gauge, whichever one you want. The cost is $33 to $47 depending on which one you choose. The setup is really easy. There's different ways you can set them up, and there's YouTube videos all over that show you how different people do it, but the gist is most people put it on a 4x4 treated post, and all that data is transmitted every single day and stored online. And CoOp is a fantastic thing to be involved in. I've pretty much ended up my presentation for today, and if you guys have any questions, please feel free to send those in, and we'll answer those here in the next little while. And I want to thank everybody for taking the time to sit in and listen to our little presentation today. Thank you very much.